Hi, in one of our previous videos we have created an environment where we are going to test Windows Active Directory services using Windows 2016 Server, and we are installing this lab in Google Cloud. So we have installed two servers, DC1, which is going to become a domain controller, and we have installed server 01, which will be a member server of domain. On DC01, we have installed DNS service, and at the moment I have two virtual machines running in Google Cloud. Important element just to recall from the previous video is that the server, which is going to be a domain controller and who has a DNS server, because it has DNS server, I had to create a static internal IP because other machines are going to connect to this server, and the IP has to be all the time the same so they can connect to it. This requirement is not necessary for a domain controller itself, but it's necessary for DNS, because DNS is used for name resolution. So without name resolution, Active Directory is not going to work. So I want DNS server being available to my clients all the time. That's why I've created internal IP address. Okay, so we are at the moment on DC01, the server which is going to become our domain controller. I'm in the server manager window at the moment. We have a dashboard where I have an overview of all my servers, and at the moment I'm just on the local server, and I can see the computer name is DC01 and belongs at the moment to workgroup. It doesn't belong to any domain. I have information about the network here. This is where I could potentially edit network settings. Plus I have a few additional information about this server, and from here I will perform additional installation. So installation of Active Directory domain services is two-stage project process. First we are going to install software, and then we promote this machine to become a domain controller. So the way how we do it, exactly the same as before. To install a role or feature, we go to Manage, Add Role and Features. Click Next on the first window. It will be role-based or feature-based installation. At the moment I have only one server here, so I'm selecting my server here. I will perform installation on this server. Click Next. And I have to select a role which I'm going to install. In my case, it's going to be Active Directory Domain Services. Once done, the installation wizard is suggesting me to add many other things, additional features. So they are tools, they are modules for PowerShell, and so on. I'm adding all those features here. So I've selected Active Directory Domain Services plus all additional features what Wizard have suggested. So I can click Next. I can click Next. And this will be a confirmation here. Yes, I want to do the installation here. I could select restart the destination server automatically if required, and I'm going to hit install. The installation process is going to start. As I said before, it is two-stage process. First, it will be only installation of the software. It doesn't install Active Directory. It doesn't make server domain controller. It is purely installation of the software, management tools, PowerShell tools, and so on. So installation is almost done. When it will be configured, we will be able to see here on this little flag. We can see the status of the installation, and if additional functions has to be performed, if the additional actions have to be performed, will be informed here. So please have a look what we can see here. I can close the wizard, go back to the flag, and I can see that feature installation, configuration required, installation succeed on this is 01, so that was the previous installation. And now there's configuration required for Active Directory domain services. Promote this server to domain controller. So at the moment, after I install the software, I have to make additional action. I have to promote this to become a domain controller. So if we look in our diagram, what we are doing, we are installing Active Directory, and our directory will be associated with a DNS name bluetilespin.com. So this is how we are going to call our domain, bluetilespin.com. So let's select promote this server to become domain controller. Now we have three options here. In our case, we are installing completely new Active Directory Forest. I would like to refer you to my video explaining the structure of Active Directory, what's forest, what are trees and domains, what the relationship between them. In this video, we are just going through how to do the installation. Because this is first domain, first installation in the organization in bluetilespin, we are creating completely new forests, new domains. Later on, we could add new domain to existing forest, or we could add domain controller to existing domain. At the moment, we create completely new forest, and I have to specify what the name of the first domain going to be. So it will be blue. Oh, sorry, I've just... I didn't touch it for a long time, and the screen was locked. Okay, so it will be bluetilespin.com. This is the name of my domain. And it is checking what version, what functionality level we are going to have. So forest functional level and domain functional level, we are leaving default Windows Server 2016. If we would be installing into previous version of Active Directory, if we would be adding additional controller, we would have additional lower level. This is the most recent domain function level. We are installing new forest, new domain, so it's going straight into Windows 2016. So we can it recognizes that this server has already DNS server installed, and it become a global catalog as well. The important element, we have to type here directory services restore mode if in the future there would be a problem with Active Directory and we would have to boot domain controller into Active Directory restore mode. For restoration or repair, we would be asked for this password. So I'm entering here Active Directory services restore mode password. Please remember in production environment to save that password because you may need this in the future. So I click next. Now we are not going to create a delegation because we are not going to connect our bluetilespin.com domain to .com upper domain. We are not doing this, so we are just hitting next. And Wizard is going to suggest default NetBIOS domain name, so it's just a shorter version. This is just bluetilespin, so without .com. I'm leaving this as it is here. And it is going to suggest where exactly on the server everything will be installed. So Active Directory database and the logs will be stored here in NTDS folder. And there is a sysvol folder which will be visible in the network later on. I'm leaving these default locations at the moment here in where they are, in our case. It's just showing me all the settings which I did choose. I can see here view script. This is PowerShell command, PowerShell script, so I could use it if I would like to do the installation later on. I can modify. This is the command install ADDS Forest. So this is the installation of New Forest. I could later on use PowerShell as well to add domains or the domain controllers to existing domain. So click next. It performed prerequisite check. Now, and this is a very important element. Our prerequisite check failed, and it said verification of prerequisites for domain controller promotion failed. The local administrator account become the domain administrator account when you create a new domain, and it doesn't have a password. Now, this is important element. This is the important thing. Let me go back to computer management. Initially, when we have installed Windows 2000 Server, it created set of default accounts. One of them is administrator. Now, the administrator account is disabled. However, once we install domain controller, those accounts become domain accounts, and the administrator become a domain administrator. We'll have to do a few things with this account later on. However, the wizard doesn't allow us to bring in an account and make it first administrator. Doesn't allow us to bring account which doesn't have a password. So what I have to do, I have to set password on this account. So I've entered a secure password here. Okay, password has been set. The user stays still disabled. He will be enabled later on. I'm going back to my wizard, going to previous, and let it check prerequisites again. At the moment it will pass because the administrator has a password. This is very important. The prerequisite check doesn't allow us to do the installation with a domain controller which is insecure. So there are a few warnings, but they are not of significance. So it says prerequisite check completed. All prerequisite check passed successfully. So we can start the installation. Now, this process is going to take a couple of minutes. After which we have to restart the server. We obviously are going to watch for any potential errors or warnings. Once computer will restart, we'll be able to log on to it using our new domain. So at the moment all the partitions are been installed. We don't have to wait for installation to finish. So I'm going to pause this video for a moment, and I get back when installation is finished. Okay. So installation has finished. We have our server restarted at the moment. So we are on DC01, and please notice it shows that at the moment we are in bluetilespin.com domain. Also on the side here I have a shortcut for ADDS, so Active Directory Domain Services, and I have a few additional tools here for managing of Active Directory. Interesting to notice, if I go to computer management, I don't have option here to manage local usernames.